Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in once again. You're listening to World Combat Sports. Shout out to Michael Johnson in the building. What's good, man? Denise Wards, Boxing Queen, salute to you. Labor Day weekend. Hopefully, everyone is enjoying whatever you got going on. T. Joyner in the building. Salute to you. And everybody else that's stopping through, do me a favor, man, and hit that thumbs up button. You know what I'm saying? Do me that favor and hit the thumbs up button. I appreciate it. So what we're talking about today is I want to start off with, Deontay Wilder clinically being diagnosed as depressed. You know what I'm saying? I haven't really spoke on it because when those particular issues come up to the surface, it's just all over the media. So I just let that shit die down because it's not a sense of urgency for me to report on something that Deontay Wilder himself haven't been to the doctor, and we haven't had any type of media nor documentation to prove that he's been clinically depressed since losing his title. Now, my point of the entire matter is from Lance Puglier, for him to basically correlate Deontay Wilder's silence and basically be an instigator. And they love doing this. You know what I'm saying? They love being instigators to try to get someone to come out and they want to take accountability, or they want to take the claim as if it was their words that forced that person to speak up. Now, let's be honest. Like I've said before on many of my lives, right? The way Deontay Wilder went into the first fight and the second fight with Tyson Fury, and what he didn't get, nor did he receive from his hometown fans in the U.S. boxing footprint, and then what he experienced in the fight with Tyson Fury in the rematch. Now, he was booed in both settings, but what he experienced in the Tyson Fury rematch was losing his belt, and he received punishment, from Tyson Fury. And the whole entire night just didn't go his way, right? But then that's not enough. You had the controversy with whatever else that went on with Tyson Fury with the glove situation. Did he win the fight fairly? Then the towel coming in the ring from Mark Breland, and Deontay Wilder having enough coherency, in the heat of battle. Once the fight was called off by Kenny Bayless, he had enough coherency to walk over there to the rope and ask Mark Breland, "Why did you do that?" And it's a lot that's going on with people assuming that Deontay Wilder was out of it. He was out on his feet. He didn't know where he was. It kind of reminds me of that 7th round, 41 seconds of punishment he took from Luis Ortiz. But yet when the bell sounded, he went right back over to his corner. And I'm saying to myself, damn, Deontay Wilder, he just don't have a right hand. He has a chin too. And you got to give it up to him. He has a chin, because though he was laid out, I wouldn't say laid out, though he was knocked down in the rematch, he immediately made it back to his feet. He immediately framed up, made it back to his feet. He has a damn good chin. I think he has one of the best chins, the best chin in the heavyweight division, man. I have to say that, because Tyson Fury, when he knocked him out, Tyson Fury was out with his head on the deck, sunbathing under the lights, man, chilling. He was in a deep comatose state, man, speaking to the Gypsy Angels. That's real talk. Mike, what's good? Ace Boogie in the building. What's good with you, man? Salute to everybody. Happy Labor Day weekend. If there's any such thing as Happy Labor Day weekend, because it's basically supposed to deal with the labor workers. But you know how we do it. It's a cookout. You know what I'm saying? Shit. Michael say Deontay Wilder have been having fun doing him. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And this is what I want to make a point about. the caveat of what Michael said. When somebody's not talking, right? How does it become a sinful, how does it come an area of objectivity to criticize someone when they're quiet? Because before, when he was active, when he was fighting all these top-notch heavyweights, he was being vocal. He was letting his bravado shine. He was talking trash. He was going back and forth on a tour with Tyson Fury in their first fight, press tour. But the second fight, he said, "No, I'm not giving you that." So this is nothing new. Like, why should he come out here and give anybody any type of explanation when they're not even willing to talk about all the controversy surrounding that night at the MGM Grand? They're not willing to talk about the shit. You know what I'm saying? It makes all the sense in the world, people, that this man lay low. It makes all the sense in the world that you just fall back and enjoy yourself and your family. Because I said this before, fuck it. Don't cater to these people that didn't want to cater to you when you was champion for over 5 years. You know what I'm saying? Don't sit up here and be so anxious to hope for ESPN call you. Hey, I'm pretty sure there's been several dozen that's contacted the champ and said, "We want to get an interview with you," especially after he lost. I mean, I bet his management team was just taking emails, phone calls. Can we get a interview with the champ? Can we get an interview with the champ? We need to know. We need to know. We want to know how he feel and blah, blah, blah. From what I heard, it was some people, on the team trying to get people an interview right after the man lost. The man been champion so long, he don't know how to lose, y'all. Deontay Wilder was champion so long, he didn't know how to lose. Can you say that for Tyson Fury, who's out of the sport? Can you say that for Anthony Joshua? It comes a time where when you look at the entire situation with Deontay Wilder, he's not being stuck up. You know what I'm saying? He's pretty much approachable when I had the opportunity to speak with him, and I appreciate that. I don't report on the champ every day because I'm media, and there's more boxers out here in the sport competing than Deontay Wilder. But what I appreciate from Deontay Wilder is that I had the opportunity of covering one of the greats to ever do it in the heavyweight division in boxing. Individual with what he had, he made the most of it. He blossomed into a superstar, and he represented the champ the way he's supposed to be. But since losing his title February 22nd, Pugmire want to come out here and, first of all, I want to say somebody's clinically depressed, right? So why would somebody as strong as Deontay Wilder get it and have all the wrong dimensions to be the champ he is? Why all of a sudden with one fucking loss, 42 victories, 41 knockouts, right? Why would one single loss place him in a state of darkness? Why? I mean, that's not even a question that's open-ended for somebody to answer. Like, why would the champ all of a sudden be placed in a state of darkness from one loss? I'm looking at a man who's proven that he can walk through the depths of hell, that he can goddamn travel through adversity. He's shown that he has heart. He's shown that people say he has a basketball frame. So if he has a basketball frame and he was able to earn 42 victories with damn near 100% knockout ratio, once again, damn near 100% knockout ratio, why in the hell this man would be in clinical depression just off one loss, all because of one dude that's he's qualified? There's a lot of qualified people that's in the position to give those diagnosis. But that doesn't mean it makes fucking sense. It can be extreme bias behind that shit, especially when it comes to sports, because you can change a person's, it's a lot that can change an athlete, all from an individual like Pugmire coming out here speaking about the champ being clinically depressed. I don't know if you've seen recently, he was out there, from my understanding, he was in Florida, scuba diving, enjoying the marine life, you know what I'm saying, doing something that you don't see a lot of black folks do. But yes, he's scuba diving, checking out the depths. He's out there at the range. He's chilling with his family. He's doing what the hell he's supposed to be doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, what else is he supposed to be doing? Because he has a freaking clause in there that he enacted that says he gets a trilogy with Tyson Fury. So when I hear Pugmire say these things, I'm saying to myself, is it just a provocative reaction out of Deontay Wilder to do an interview where he speaks out? Is it just an antagonistic, subliminal way to say, let me see if I say this about him so I can get him to speak? Because listen, if I was in his same position, I'll be quiet as kept. I've said this before. These fighters really don't owe us anything, right? We just grateful if they give us that type of attention to allow us the exclusive interviews and the pictures and shit like that, right? But when it comes down to this situation, somebody with 42 victories, the best heavyweight in the game, who's been doing what you expect a champion to do in the sport of boxing, y'all. His own people boo him. Deacon 305 in the building. What's good, man? Good to have you in the live chat, OG. Appreciate you. Michael said, why do they even do interviews with these folks? Hey, that's, I say the same thing, right? Like when I start going out here on site, right? I called it, field work, going into the field, getting in the trenches and going to the fights and everything, right? My mentality was, if I was able to walk up or get to know who a fighter was and they allowed me to get an interview, cool. But knowing what I know about individuals in general that compete in combat sports, they're not your average individual. They take punishment, and some of these cats, they just don't act like you would expect a normal person to do, because it can be training, it can be them taking punches, it can be just their overall attitude and dealing with fans, because some fans are fucked up, and some fighters give you the responsive, the negative response in return, because they have to deal with so many people. You know what I'm saying? You meet somebody in person, they take a picture with you and everything, and then this person go back online and dog you out. I witnessed that. I remember being kicked out of a group from an individual who has pictures with all these fighters. And when it came down to Deontay fighting a certain individual, he put up a picture that somebody made of Deontay peeking out the blinds like he was scared. I say, but yeah, you're the same people that was taking pictures with Deontay, and you want to post it all over social media as if you're doing this big thing, but all you're doing is taking pictures. You ain't media. You just going to the fights. You have the luxury of going to the fights and taking pictures. But yeah, you posting a picture of him peeking out the blinds like he's scared for his next opponent. That's what you call fuckboyism. You know what I'm saying? Seriously, you got to call it for what it is. And I can't really put that label on Pugmire for whatever he said, because he actually has the credential, the qualifying credential that he's went to school for to come up with that. You know what I'm saying? He can say it, but what it does is it just helps us understand the depths for which people are willing to travel while somebody's already down. You know what I'm saying? It's not like Deontay Wilder, goes get up every day and call me up. I only have a communication with the people out here in the media. I'm not getting firsthand. That's why I don't report on it. Now, those media that's getting it firsthand, cool. I can understand they can report on knowledge that they have. But what I report on with the champ is basically a summation on my opinion, because I never get on here trying to say what Wilder is thinking or what he's been through and nothing like that. I can only talk about my experiences with him, what people say he doesn't do, and what I can't understand that they don't understand. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's stuck up, he's classless. You know what I'm saying? He's a trash talk. He's big mouth. I'm like, these motherfuckers looking at what Tyson Fury. Are you listening to what Tyson Fury does? This motherfucker called every fighter a bum, a dosser, a bloke. And them UK cats, they love calling people cunts. You know what I'm saying? Let a black fighter, call somebody a cunt. That should be all over the media. So-and-so disrespecting women. My God. And then the women's writer come out. What did you mean about that cunt statement that you made? We just want to get some clarification here, because that is one of the deepest levels of disrespect when it comes to addressing a woman. But yet the UK fighters say that shit with an accent, and people just think it's so funny. But I'm just trying to find out, right? What is wrong with the champ keeping his mouth shut to the media? What is wrong with that? It's nothing, absolutely nothing. I'm happy he ain't talking to these cats. I'm happy that he's quiet. Reserve. You know what I'm saying? Reserve your privacy. Don't let him in. Because, champ, you let him in when you was out here competing. You let us in. And the fact that you let us in and going out there performing the way you did, you was expecting that love in return, but you didn't get it. They want to give you that step cousin love. You know what I'm saying? They want to give you that step cousin love. They want to treat you like you a stranger every time you show up to split the ropes. But little do they know, you go over the top rope. Oh, why? Why he has to go over the top rope? We understand he's 6'7", but come on, most of the boxers go through the ropes. Why does he have to go over the ropes? It comes a point in time that, more people that hear media talk about this situation dealing with one of the best heavyweight champs to ever do it, they should put some respect on his name. Even though I don't like using cliche shit, from the culture in hip hop, I don't. But, in this particular instance, they should put more respect on Deontay Wilder's name, and they shouldn't worry about what he's saying and not saying. They shouldn't worry about it. Seriously, people, anyone who's listening, you should not worry about if he's reserving his right to confidentiality. He's reserving his right to privacy. You shouldn't be mad, because it would have been different if he walked in the Staples Center and y'all was just cheering him and he couldn't even hear. Like, God damn, these people really love me and shit. Man, that make a person feel good. Like, damn, this is what I'm doing it for. This is where I started. I started lacing up these gloves, to support my family. I started because my daughter has spina bifida. And as a man, I was working multiple jobs, stepped in the gym, met JD's, and the garden started to grow from there. Fast track through the Olympics and still earned a bronze medal. Still earned a bronze medal with limited amateur experience. But the amateur experience that you do have is a medal that you can wear on your breastplate because you earned it. Honestly, as a champion, you earned it the right way. For a very long time, the only man to go the distance with you was the same night you picked up the chip, champ. The only man to go the distance with you that night for a while was Bermain Stavern. Everything else that you did after that was what you're supposed to do as a champ. Whether they respect you or not, that comes with the territory when you're speaking on boxing. When you talk about how fans are fair weather, how fans will switch up on you, from the time you leave the arena and to you making it home on the flight, you get to, basically engage or access this media layer called social media, and you get to see what people are saying about you. And then you kind of get a, understanding of how genuine or disingenuous your fans are. But the fucked up thing about it, to be honest, the fucked up thing about this entire situation is that this man was booed when he faced a UK fighter. He faced somebody who didn't look like him standing across the ring. He was booed. But when he was facing Stavern, when he was facing Brazil, Ortiz, Washington, Scott, when he was facing all these people that were supposed to give him good competition, they was like, yeah, we cheering for Deontay. We're going to do process of elimination. We cheering for Deontay tonight. But when Tyson Fury came in here, goddamn, just taking full advantage of the gullible pocket of U.S. boxing fans that are so spoiled with seeing superstars and champs in rotation, they booing this. Look, they booing Deontay, and then they cheering for Tyson Fury, who came in there with Apollo Creed without colors on. I know the UK colors are red, white, and blue, but we're talking about the US colors. Deegan said, World Combat, my wife has a shirt with her picture on it, and the words that beneath the picture say strong words without saying anything. Absolutely, man. Our ancestors have bent their backs long enough in the cotton fields. No more bending the backs, upright soldier. Absolutely, man. Salute, okay, Gusto. True words there, Deacon. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't get how we get criticized when Deontay Wilder was actively reigning as a champion, but you get criticized for talking, especially black media. You get criticized for supporting a black champ, and then you got these cats out here that continue to say the same thing all the time, that when it comes to black media or black fans, it's dick riding, it's fanboyism. But if you supporting, everybody else, the Vasily Lomachenkos, Gennady Golovkins, Tyson Furies, Anthony Joshua's, because he's UK. You know what I'm saying? Don't nobody know Anthony Joshua over here like that. We don't hear the same energy when those people roll up in town, try to take advantage of the monetary network over here in the U.S. grid. We don't hear that. Oh, you fanboys. But when it comes to black media or black fight fans supporting black fighters, you hear it all too often, as if we need to basically understand how much we support and how much we shouldn't support the black fighters out here, especially when it came to Deontay Wilder, especially. And right now, like I put up here previously about the heavyweights, it's not that many U.S. heavyweights that's looming out there to take over Deontay Wilder's reigning glory. Michael Hunter, he's not even nowhere close to the effect Deontay Wilder had on the crowd when he turned the corner and began his ring walk. No way even close, man. You know what's crazy about this entire situation is that US fans are gonna look at this after Wilder retires and we don't have a US heavyweight champ. I mean, I'm talking about holding the coveted belt or holding some of the major titles. I'm not talking about any title less than the super titles. We're gonna look back at this and we're gonna be like, damn, who's next? Who, man? Who? Listen, I understand they got some people in the shoot. I understand we got some people in the shoot that's on the come up for heavyweight stardom. I get it. I'm not discounting them. I know a lot of people talk about Jared Anderson. He's fighting tonight. You know what I'm saying? These guys have a long ways to go with facing the top competition. But with Deontay Wilder, he's been there. He's done that. He's one of the greatest to do it. Whiskey, what's good, man? Punch Drunk Boxing in the building. What's good? What's good? Salute to you, man. That's all I'm trying to say. Like, where does it get to a point where they take the reserve cap off a voice? You know what I'm saying? They take it off. It shouldn't have been one on there to begin with, but they take the reserve cap off. I mean, when does it come a point in time where we don't have a reserve cap on there? Because you should be able to talk about any fighter that you support or that you cover wholeheartedly as long as you want to. It doesn't really make a difference. But I think it's ultimately disrespectful and distasteful to the deepest degree of what happened with our heavyweight champ. And the reason why I'm saying that is, look at the superstardom he was able to achieve, right? And also look at how many other heavyweight champs in the US that is on the roster that would take the place of Deontay Wilder once he's freaking retired. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, Pugmire coming out here talking about he's clinically depressed, that's not gonna stop him from stepping back in the ring with Tyson Fury. And my only optimism is that when it comes to fight time, they might come up with talking about Deontay test positive for COVID-19 and shit. Remember, I told you that it might be any type of obstacle placed as a wedge in between this fight. It's a big, big fight. This trilogy between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder is huge for the sport of boxing. It is huge, y'all. And the reason why it's huge is that Deontay Wilder is able to get his belt back. There's only one common denominator for undisputed, and that's Anthony Joshua, right? Then on the flip side of that, if Tyson Fury wins and keeps the belt, then that's exactly what they wanted. They wanted to make the fight, bring all that halo back into the boxing community of the UK, and put on an undisputed heavyweight title showcase between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. In that area, I'm pretty sure the fight will probably be in Wembley or whatever the case. If that's the case, if we have a live gate by then, they would put every pyrotechnic and all that shit in there to make it as huge as it possibly can be. But I want to be honest with you when it comes down to it. It's going to make a lot of money either way on both sides. It's going to make a lot of money. I'm talking about if Deontay Wilder faces Anthony Joshua or if Tyson Fury faces Anthony Joshua. But truly, what do we really want to see when it comes to the suspense and intrigue of what the possibility is per the opponent facing the other? Which one presents a more deleterious strategy to Anthony Joshua? Does Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder? Which one? Extract the last fight you've seen between Fury and Wilder, because Fury's never been a knockout artist, right? Which one of these individuals will present much more of a deleterious attack on Anthony Joshua and be able to handle Anthony Joshua's return out of Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury? Because the fact still remains, the power is the last thing to go. So when it comes down to Deontay Wilder's power, he's still the heaviest puncher in the game right now. And once again, that fight between Wilder and Joshua will be huge. You know why? Because all the circulatory controversy that's surrounding the rematch and how it went down and all the speculation and assumptions and suspicions and all that shit, right? If you have an understanding of the magnitude of Deontay Wilder going in there getting his belt back and then boxing the WBC, being placed in a position to make one of the biggest fights ever in the history of boxing between Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua with the history behind them. See, it's a little bit too much friendliness between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. People just like, man, I gotta see that fight, man. They're gonna kill each other. That's not the vibe that you get when it comes to Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. That's not the vibe you get. You get the vibe that you're gonna see a heavyweight bout for the undisputed championship. That's what type of vibe you get. And you're curious to see who's gonna be the winner. Can Anthony Joshua pull it off? Can Tyson Fury outsmart him like he did Klitschko and make it a boring ass fight? Because that's what you're gonna get. Or do you want someone like Deontay Wilder to step through and fight Anthony Joshua with the the contentious history that they have, in 2018 with all the failed negotiations and the shit that Anthony Joshua didn't want him ringside, he didn't want him in the building, you know what I'm saying? Trying to get that man a flat fee. All those obstacles that Eddie Hearns and Anthony Joshua did back then will all come to a halt once the avenues have been limited and Deontay Wilder has regained his title. Now, hear me out. Like, it's a lot of people want to see Tyson Fury and freaking Anthony Joshua. I get it. A UK affair for all the prestige and marbles. I get it. But when it comes down to war, when it comes down to enemies, when it comes down to, it's not going to be no nice words exchanged if it's Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. It's going to be so much political rigmarole, y'all. It's going to be so much shit that it's difficult for me to even talk about it as if it's going to happen. I like to phase shit out. Like, truly, I'm phasing the Bud Crawford and Errol Spence fight. I'm phasing that shit out. There's no need to talk about it. But this fight right here with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, I do believe Deontay can go back in there and win his belt. If you believe in a fighter that you truly support and you've seen them fight in person and you've watched certain behavior, you see how they respond to adversity and you see how they react, while they're winning and how they, approach, treat the crowd and their fans and all that. To be honest, he's did a lot more than Tyson Fury did for the sport of boxing. I mean, the man has never left the sport without defending his title, y'all. He never been accused of performance-enhancing drugs. When the situation comes up, you cannot give a futile response and say, well, it was Malik Scott. Supposedly, it was a fixed fight. We don't want to hear that. What's going on, Mitch? What's good? What's good? Okay, Gusto say Deontay is an all-time great in my opinion and not just a boxer. The Wilder hate by many is delusional hate. Wilder made the heavyweight fun again. I respect all the fighters at heavyweight, but Wilder brought back the excitement and element. That's a solid summation, man. When it comes down to the champ, I still believe he's the champ. I still believe he can go in here and get this shit done. That's real talk, y'all. That's from the heart. You know what I'm saying? You know how many times, whenever I don't even cover Deontay Wilder like a lot of other media. But you know how many times every live that I speak about the champ, people have something to say about this, that, and the other. I don't give a damn what you're talking about. It's just the fact that when you experience a person and what their capabilities are and what they came from, you either generate a level of respect or disrespect. That's the way it goes. And I felt in this lifetime of me living, I'm extremely happy to be able to see somebody like Deontay Wilder compete. Because I always go back to the first picture that I got. The first picture. I had to recon that shit. I'm leaving the MGM Grand after watching the champ fight. I had to recon the timeline on when he was probably going to be at the airport. I said, he's not going to stay here an entire weekend. So I had to get to the airport. And just when I'm getting to the airport at the time that I assume, I see the champ and his security getting out. So once they checked in and everything, I asked them for a picture. That was the first picture I got. Snapped it up. And then once I ran my ticket, the lady asked me, hey, what basketball player was that? That's real talk. She asked me, what basketball player was that? I said, he's not a basketball player. That's a heavyweight champ. And a lot of people don't follow boxing like that all around. But in Vegas, that's one of the boxing strongholds. You know what I'm saying? She said, what basketball player was that? You know what I'm saying? I was like, man, come on already, yo. Like, y'all really have to watch some of these fighters fight to kind of gather a different level of respect for him. You know what I'm saying? There's no need for me to chop down the champ because he lost his title once. There's no reason for me to get on here and agree with Lance Puglier because he want to say that champ is freaking clinically depressed off a single loss. Out of all the adversity and criticism and scrutiny that's been placed on this man, and you're going to say one loss. Punch Drunk say, this is how special Wilder is. Fury fired everyone on his team and hired a whole team to prepare for Wilder. If Wilder can't box, like Delusion Casual said, why hire a whole new team for preparation? Man, hey, that would be common sense, right? If that would be common sense if someone is so easy. His skills are fragmented. He has no balance. He has just the right hand. Why would you have to get rid of Freddie Roach, who was in your corner the first fight, and go to Sugar Hill? And people up here delusional saying that Crunk has that Crunk style. It's no such thing as a Crunk style. It's no such thing as fighters walking up to Crunk gym and they're basically rededicating themselves and coming out brand new. It's nothing in boxing history. From when Emmanuel Stewart was hosting to now Sugar Hill being in there, it's nothing that's saying, you know what, these Crunk fighters across the board, they can't lose. I haven't heard it, people. This man changed up Ben Davison. This man would not take the immediate rematch. Tyson, you know what I'm saying? He wanted to go over there and fight Tom Schwartz and freaking Otto Wallin. Got busted up in the Otto Wallin fight, and then went over to World Wrestling Entertainment, and he wanted to jump off the ropes and fight Braun Strowman. Then he comes back with a new team and all those adjustments and say, now I'm ready. All the pawns are in place. Now I'm ready. I feel confident. Let's go. Solid point, man. Kano Local Sports in the building. Salute, man. What's good? Anthony Jones, what's good? Salute to you for stopping through, man. They only like black people with a negative image, not a pro-black positive camp. You know, I look at it like this, man. In that case, I have to tell people from my experience from dealing with Deontay Wilder, and salute to everyone who allowed me, to get into training camp. Check this out. Like certain individuals I ran into, I'm not going to mention his names, and you can pretty much figure out who it is. You can't get close to them. They won't even speak to you. You know what I'm saying? They won't even acknowledge your presence as an adult. But at least Deontay Wilder give you a salute. He'll put his hand across his heart. He'll bow. He'll say, "What's up?" He'll like acknowledge your presence. He's approachable dude, man. That's the only thing I can say. He's an approachable dude, and him trash talking. And I remember the time when he was on the Breakfast Club and he sat up there and said the Bronze Bomber is looking for a body, and people just went haywire. People were in a frantic freaking sprint to jump on social media. How can Deontay Wilder, they didn't want to say the Bronze Bomber because that's an alias, right? Off of Joe Louis, who used to, be the Brown Bomber. How can Deontay Wilder want to commit murder? How can we respect him competing in the sport when he wants to commit murder? He wants to kill somebody. The Bronze Bomber wants a body. And people's like, it's no such thing as a Bronze Bomber. That's Deontay Wilder. And that's how we're going to look at it. We want to petition the WBC and have them investigate those words of Deontay Wilder, because really, you're looking at the gloves that he have on and being the hardest puncher in the sport. We might need to stop him from using that right hand like they stopped, what's his name back in the day, from dunking. Who was that they stopped? Was it Kareem? Who was that they stopped? It might have been Kareem or Wilt Chamberlain. One of them, they stopped them from dunking. Dunking was banned. These cats are coming here and say, you know what, Mr. Wilder, we've called you to the table to speak about the concerns of the people. And right now we have implemented, we've basically came to the conclusion, unfortunately, that your right hand, there's no way that we can bring it to you any more easier than this, except we're banning your right hand. You're gonna have to learn how to basically, it's not all the way banned, but instead of you fighting orthodox, you're now only allowed to fight southpaw. Therefore, it allows you not to load up on the right hand. The right hand would be your jab hand. So therefore, Mr. Wilder, you need to learn how to practice southpaw position from now on for the better good of saving fighters in the heavyweight division. Seriously. Is it that serious? The man say the Bronze Bomber want to catch a body and y'all want to change up his whole fighting style. We're banning the right hand from that position. So switch stance. We are forcing you to fight southpaw style, where your right hand is your jab hand, and therefore you cannot and will not be able to generate as much power as you did when you was knocking out 41 of those fighters that you was able to do. We're going to put a halt to this. Be careful about what you say on the radio. SB90 in the building. What's good, man? He said Sugar Hill professor plus create mutant strength. I got mad respect for Sugar Hill before he opened his mouth when they asked him about the freaking camera being covered up and the glove situation. Wilder is a spiritual warrior. His father, a pastor, a great father and family man, a man that represented our country in the Olympics and brought back our medal. We should honor our American champ. Yeah, I totally agree with that, man. We should. And his father is a preacher. And you know what I'm saying? That's quiet. People are extremely silent. Even Deontay Wilder doesn't talk about that too much. But his father is a pastor. Like, come on, man. Like, damn, yo. Like y'all want this man to be in a position where his parents wasn't even in his life the entire life and his entire, childhood. They didn't teach him anything. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when it comes down to it, like how much criticism does one champion that's did it the right way have to go through? I'm not showing petty on him. It's just the opposite. Like I'm actually speaking from what, as a champion, he deserved that respect. He's did what he's supposed to do. Like a lot of other champions that's out here, some of the greats that do it, and they still don't get the respect. But we all know in the heavyweight division, we love knockouts. We love power punchers. We love one-quitter hitters. We love heart. We love fighters who sit up here and give us that entertainment value just by walking to the ring. Like when I watched Deontay Wilder walk to the ring with his entire ensemble, and the people was cheering him, y'all. It was loud. I mean, the roar was crazy. And here I am thinking like, damn, they actually love, you know what I'm saying? This was at the Barclays. Like, they actually love the champ, man. I was like, all right. And all these people with him, they turn the corner, battle formation. It's time to go to motherfucking war. The way it should be, the energy was electric. I ain't gonna lie. Me being in the stands, hearing those people soaking that in, I'm like, I can't imagine how he feels. He's the one stepping in the damn square. He's the one about to go defend his title. So it's only right for him to just soak it all in, man. Receive the audibles, man. Be like, people calling your name. You go up there and get in the ring, they get even louder. Only to go in there and knock out the person that night. Have people wanting pictures with you, video. You know what I'm saying? Appreciating you being the champion you are. And then you get you put yourself in line to face somebody who's basically been unified champion before. He's tested positive. He's been on a drug bench. And people think I'm extremely freaking biased on Tyson Fury. Now I'm just telling you what it is, man. Like, come on, man. I'm keeping for what it is. If Deontay Wilder would have been out the sport and strung out on recreational drugs, they would have called him a crackhead. Period. His own people would have called him a crackhead. His own people would have called him a crackhead, because that's a stereotypical cadence that you get from the language from our own people. I've never experienced in boxing, and I grew up around the Mike Tyson era, Larry Holmes, all them cats, right? It just wasn't something that I couldn't understand, like with Mike Tyson being the puncher he was and how he fucked up outside of the ring, was incarcerated, biting ears off, just really giving us that deep, I'm talking about I wouldn't put him in that perspective. Let me see. Giving you that raw, that bully energy. That's what Mike Tyson gave you. Because he was gonna goddamn go in there and try to knock out his opponent, right? So I take that type of energy, and then I kind of match it up to what I was seeing with Deontay Wilder as he was coming up in his career with the title. And I'm saying, why in the fuck do they hate him so much when the man ain't been incarcerated? He hasn't had an idle release from the sport where he was just stagnant because he was incarcerated. We've never witnessed him fight dirty. If you look at all the shit that Tyson Fury was doing in the rematch, from trying to lick his blood and leaning on him and putting him in the headlock, Deontay Wilder just, the Kenny Bayless break the fighters, and then they go. No complaining, No whining. You know what I'm saying? No excessive freaking bickering, talking to the ref. Please, ref, help me out. He was in there saying, you know what, it's up to me to win this shit. Even though I don't look and feel the same and I'm taking punishment, it's up to me to make this shit happen so I can keep my belt. And it didn't happen. He lost his belt. And all of a sudden, he's clinically depressed. If he was clinically depressed, he needs to stay out the water then. He needs to stay out the gun range. It looked like he having fun to me. He's educated and went to college. He left to literally fight to save his daughter. Has been invited to the White House to pardon Jack Johnson. He's the Pope's favorite fighter. After that fight, his last fight with Luis Ortiz, matter of fact, speaking of the Pope, yeah, you know, his fiance basically said they was going to see the Pope. And, you know, it's out there on YouTube. They went over to see the Pope. A lot of us haven't had that opportunity. And also he did go to the White House for the Jack Johnson, you know, pardon, so to speak, from the CIC. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are situations that Deontay Wilder has been a part of, but no one chooses to talk about or basically elaborate because they're positive. You know, it's a lot more that he's done in the community. There's a lot more that's out there. But they're not going to talk about it because it's too positive. But he's clinically depressed because he's moot. He's quiescent to responding to the mainstream media or to the old media, because he pretty much understands. If you listen to his PBC interview they got out of him, it probably took them a whole hell of a lot to convince the champ to get on here and speak. But look how vague his interview was. And I'm saying to myself, absolutely. Absolutely. They trying to dig, pry, and ask you these leading questions. No, you only giving tidbits, man. Just spoon feed these motherfuckers. Spoon feed them. Don't give them everything they're looking for, because guess what? They're going to print it. They're going to put it on media, and they're going to turn it into what they're doing right now as far as you being clinically depressed. So spoon feed them. You know what I'm saying? That's all. Give them more. No, not even that. Give them the hors d'oeuvre treatment. Just stick a toothpick down there. Give them that little hors d'oeuvre. Say, here you go. Don't even give them the entree. They don't deserve it, man. Only issue he don't have is a promotional machine. Yes, you know, some fighters, you know, some fighters feel the independence is where they need to be in the sport of boxing. If many more fighters are independent with that particular facet of their career, maybe they may, you know, it may be some success, but not until some of these older promotional companies start to degrade. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not going to happen. You're still going to have a lot of entities just making moves, man. They're doing co-promotions. You know what I'm saying? You know, he has his own promotional company, just like, you know, a lot of other fighters. But yeah, like we said, there's still avenues they have to go to make the fight. Seneca J in the building. Salute to you, man. Kind of Loco Sports say they never support minority boxers. It's sad, but it's sad, but it's facts. Minorities, they need to learn how to support. I know we spoiled over here in the U.S. That comes to blacks, Mexican fighters, all that. We spoiled over here because that's what the majority consists of. The pool consists of those fighters. Seriously. We have some lighter divisions. We have the fighters from Thailand, Japan, you know, Philippines, you know, in the lighter divisions. We do. You know what I'm saying? But when it gets to, I say around what, featherweight? Let me see. I say junior light. it changes up a lot. You know what I'm saying? It changes up a lot. Wilder leaned on him, headlock Fury as well. Well, you know, it's boxing. And if you watch the entire fight over and over again, then you would understand that they pretty much leaned on each other at one point in time. But we're talking about consistently the heavier fighter and what his tactics was. We're not in here to say who leaned on who. It was a boxing match. And we all know heavyweights aren't the most agile or mobile movers while they're fighting, but they are going to lean on each other. If that's the point you was trying to make outside of what I'm talking about. I like Wilder, but Fury is 100% a better boxer. Wilder never fight anyone like Fury when he was 100% in his second fight. Fury never fought anybody like Wilder. Fury never fought anybody like Wilder. It proved on how much trouble and difficulties that he had in the first fight. From a fighter who only has a right hand, right? A lot of people were saying that Fury is the better boxer, in which Fury is able to put together combinations. He's able to be able to increase his volume of punches when it's needed. But on the outside, when he's distance gauging and he's basically measuring, all that irky jerky shit can become very boring. If you take a look at the fight when he won the unified titles, it was boring, but he got the job done. He got the job done, but he's not 100% better fighter than Deontay Wilder. Because one thing Fury doesn't have is power. Regardless of what you've seen in the rematch, you don't get power. You don't generate power just because you go to Crunk Gym. You don't come up with power just because you're in your 30s now and you got your grown man strength. That don't happen. Fury is 6'9", 6'9" now. And he's allowing fighters like Francisco Pianetta. He allowing fighters like Tom Swartz and Otto Wallin to give him trouble. But you're trying to say the heaviest handed fighter doesn't rate that same respect as being one of the best in the sport. Very true, Punch Drunk. Boxing Wilder story is an incredible one. I think he does lack that promotional machine, like you said, to work around the clock and elevate his brand. Hey, you know, speaking of promotional machines, right? You know, there was a situation that happened with someone on his team attempting to make a deal with the Zone. And a lot of individuals were sitting up here talking about, you know, Wilder ducked Joshua because he did not accept. But yet, I was trying to explain to these individuals that when it comes down to it, you have to read. You have to read line for line. You have to understand what the contingency is in these freaking deals. You know how many fighters have really lost their career outside the ring because they weren't reading? Either they could not read or they could read and still couldn't understand or comprehend what was in the contract, or they didn't have someone there to basically explain to them. It's just too much that you have to go through. You know how jacked up Wilder would have been if he would have signed that contract, and looking at the position that the Zone is in right now, even with Canelo Alvarez. Even with Canelo Alvarez, y'all have to understand what is going on. You know, it's a big deal with him not receiving his $35 million for an upcoming fight. And also Golden Boy not owning up to their obligation and all this other shit. But that's besides the point. That's another live. But all I'm trying to say is, if he, you know, he go in there and knock out Brazil, who would have been his first fight. Anthony Joshua loses to Ruiz. Did you read inside that contingency that they would have, they could potentially lower or reduce the amount of money he's supposed to be receiving and give him another top tier opponent other than Joshua? It would have fucked it all up, because you're looking at, you know, signing with his own. It's not just putting ink to paper. You have to fucking read and see both sides. It was two parts to that contract that people don't understand. So they need to stop saying that he ducked Joshua because he didn't lock himself into a freaking shackle agreement and look stupid. So people can laugh at his ass and say, oh, you got in that contract thinking you was going to face Joshua. It would have been another Dillian White. You know what I'm saying? Timothy say Fury took a nap in the 12th of the fight. Check this out, Timothy. Any other ref would have called that fight. Seriously. Because of the brutality of the knockdown, the fight would have been called. But I'm thankful I was able to speak to Jack Reese one-on-one and basically get his take on why he did what he did for the spirit of boxing. And though I disagreed with what he returned with, you know, his response to not calling that fight, I'm still appreciative I was able to let him know that I thought it was a long count. And I felt that if it was any other fighter other than Tyson Fury, they would have been called out just like Dillian White. Just like any other fighter you see get knocked out and they sleeping. The fight is over. But Reese had the genuflect. He damn near kowtowed to get close to Tyson. 2, 3. Semi. 4. Come on, Tyson. You can do it. 4. I already did 4. 5. Come on, Tyson. Come on. This is what you're built for. Come on, Tyson. Don't let me call Teddy Atlas in here and give you the fireman story. Get up. 3. I'm just bullshitting with the count as far as going backwards, but God damn it, it seemed like a long time, didn't it? A lot of people don't want to accept that. They don't want to put no emphasis into it. But any other fighter would have got knocked down like that, it would have been over, done, knockout. Period. Tyson get up and put his hands. Oh, I'm done with that. I'm done talking about that. Watch the fight again because he tripped over Fury's foot. Wilder didn't even look hurt. And that's what I'm talking about. Like the usuals, you know, it's all up to me on what I want to give you a shine. But if you're going to come in here and say the same thing just to keep remediating the same thing that really is not, you know, conducive to what I'm talking about, I'm going to skip over it. You know what I'm saying? It's not because it's going against what I'm saying. It's the fact that just like Timothy just told you, you're not really looking at the entire fight to understand how something occurred. You're just looking at and saying that he got knocked down. The referee counting him gave him 2 standing 8s. I mean, Wilder was given 2 10-8 rounds. Colonel said him not signing to the zone was super smart. Man, you know, that's what I was saying too. People need to understand and get people to help them read. If you're not able, and basically you doesn't have the literacy to understand the contract, you should get someone on your team that does, that you have trust in, that's not going to screw you over because they're getting a percentage out of the deal. That's what you should take in consideration. You should really pay attention to basically building up a team that you trust. You know what I'm saying? That you know that's in your best interest. And regardless of the percentage that they are getting, not to lock you in a deal. It ultimately, regardless of how you're treated, Wilder, they're going to get their percentage. You know what I'm saying? So it's good he didn't sign that deal. Absolutely, I agree. Fury did get up, after whenever, he came to and everything, and the people that came back with hot dogs and soda. Yeah, he had gotten up, and he finished the round pretty strong, but that's besides the point. The point was that he was knocked unconscious and the fight should have been called off, period. Deontay Wilder should have won that fight and he would be 43. He would have been freaking 43-0. I mean, I'm not going to go back and forth about it. But anyway, back to what I was saying about his clinical depression, on how Lance Pugmire gave him that underlining, prognosis, so to speak. It really comes down to me speaking to the public and helping y'all, welcome the champ back. Those of you who support, welcome him back, man. Now that you've gotten those of you that wasn't cheering or supporting him wholeheartedly in the beginning, now that he's lost his belt and he didn't get on here whimpering and crying and making up excuses about shit. Regardless of what you heard in the media about some uniform, did you hear him say that on the mic? Did you hear him speak about? Most of what was said post-fight was him being discouraged and disappointed that the towel was thrown into the ring. He didn't lose control. This wasn't a Mike Tyson moment. This wasn't a Zab Judah Costa Zoo moment. This wasn't a James Butler, Richard Allen moment. This wasn't Ricardo Mayorga moment. The man sat down and got his gloves removed and everything, man, and it's on to the next, man. He lost his title. Now it's back to the damn lab. Take some time off, receive surgery on a torn bicep, from my understanding, and then get back in the lab and get your sparring, whatever changes you got to make, change it now that is broken, and come back to the battlefield ready to engage in one-on-one warfare. That's what it's all about. And he needs his fans that's over here in the U.S. footprint. If you support him, support him. But if he haven't really said anything at all, then what are you going to talk about? What is your point of disliking him and cheering for a neighboring fighter like Fury, who's did much more when it came to drugs and everything else? He's an official cheater. Those in the live chat, you can soak that in. That's a cheater. The man disgraced the sport. He have not been able to successfully defend one title yet, a single title, y'all. But yet he want to say, well, I'm only the second to do this, and I'm only the third to do this. And then he want to walk around with these Casper the Ghost lineal titles that he hold. I'm the lineal champion. Man, come on, bro. Just because you're supposed to lose, the only way you can lose the lineal championship is in the ring. Man, come on. You was out of the sport forever. You was on a nostril vacation, bro. Come on, man. Y'all need to defend that. Tell me some positivity on being a cokehead. Educate me on that. That's all. Educate me on that, because this is very, very light what I'm doing with Tyson Fury right now. He's a very comical guy. You know what I'm saying? He was just on ESPN. ESPN love having Tyson Fury on there. I know he's part of the promotion, Top Rank, and all that. I wish they would have more fighters on there other than Tyson Fury. 24 Geezy in the building. Salute to you. World Combat Russell just got on his live and told Dev to tell Hearns to send over the contract for $1.5 million, and he'll take $1.2 million to fight Shakur. Yeah, I've seen that. I haven't got over it. I haven't transferred over, but appreciate that info. I'm gonna read it again. 24 Geezy stepped in and he said, Russell was on live and told Devin Haney, the WBC lightweight champion, tell Hearn to send over the contract for 1.5. And that's exactly what I put on my thumbnail. I said 1.5 is solid. There's no need for, I mean, that's your highest payday. There's no need to say, give me another 5K. We good. 1.5 is solid. And for him to say he'll take 1.2 and that's below his highest payday to fight Shakur Stevenson, that's what I'm talking about. That's what the fuck I'm talking about right there. I got mad respect for them Russell, the Russell family, the first family of boxing. Real talk. That's some good news. Yeah, I peeped that. You know, I just haven't got around to it because I had to, you know, speak on this because there's just so much hate and animosity that Deontay Wilder generates from people who are pretty much misinformed and they have their own sense of thinking when it comes to just being closed-minded when at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? They just don't want to hear anything else. And plus, they have the opportunity as screensavers to basically molest the home keys in partnership with their keyboard and just talk trash all the time. It's not even conducive to the sport of boxing, to be honest. Lawrence Williams, what's good, L-Dub? Salute to you, man. Timmy say Fury landed only 13 more punches in the first fight. And he was knocked down twice, and you feel he got robbed? Well, you know, one thing about this, Timothy, you know, some people, they just want the AT&T, and sometimes you just have to disconnect and let them talk. Haney versus Russell is next. I hope so, man. I hope so. I hope it's next, man. And speaking of the champ, I'm just gonna, you know, say this. I know he's back in the lab. You know, he's you know, in training camp from what I heard via other sources. And we look forward, and hopefully this fight happens at the end of the year when it's supposed to, and it's not no COVID shit or no other bullshit that goes on. We really hope for everything to work itself out. But what I want to, the invitation that I want to leave for those of you that's tuned in, especially the haters, please don't go anywhere. Just I hope you subscribe to the channel if you know, feel the need to do so. But I really want to engage in a dialogue once Deontay Wilder gets his belt back. I just want you to come over. I'll drop the link in there so we can all have a conversation. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of you don't get on panels, but you know, it would be good to have a healthy dialogue on the post-fight reaction on what you think went wrong. It wasn't enough sugar for the trilogy? You know what I'm saying? I just want you here for the post-fight reaction once Wilder get his belt back. Don't go anywhere. Don't run. Don't deactivate your account now. Don't create another ghost account and come back in here talking about, oh man, congratulations, Wilder. We knew you can do it. No, don't be fake. Don't be cowards. Keep the same account. Come back under the same name you in here with now, so we can just kind of speak together, you know, just have this dialogue about what went wrong with Fury. You know what I'm saying? I just want to have a dialogue. That's all. To Gary Russell Jr., speaking with whoever he's spoken to his team and everything, I really hope this fight happens, man, with him and Devin Haney, because both are big names in the sport of boxing. One has been, you know, the longest reigning WBC champ, and one is currently the WBC lightweight champ, who has such a huge optic ahead of him in Devin Haney. He's been around some of the greats and OGs in the sport of boxing, training wise, forever and a day, y'all. And the last time I checked, isn't that the way you want to be? Like outside of what we experience, you know, in the street life, isn't that what you want as a boxer, to be around the greats? So no one's going to tell me that a fight between Terrence Crawford and Kell Brook is going to do better numbers than Gary Russell and Devin Haney. It's not going to happen, y'all. Kell Brook, who is damn near like he has a foot out the door in retirement already. His most memorable fights is him being stopped. First by Gennady Golovkin, second by Errol Spence, y'all. No one cares about Amir Khan talking about Kell Brook don't want to fight him. He moved up to 154. Don't nobody want to hear that shit, Amir Khan. From what I seen, look, from what I seen and how you performed in there with Terrence Crawford at the Barclays, I don't want to hear shit you got to say. You quit. 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 Amir Khan quit. Stylistically, Gary Russell moving up to face a fighter who could potentially be a 5-division champion. He was only 21 grade. 21 to his grade, y'all. And you know, long as Floyd Mayweather around, he's going to be able to soak up that curriculum. He's always going to have an open door to go over there and get that knowledge. 1.5, man, is a sound offer. I hope they make the fight. It's really not much more to say to everything that's been going on with Gary Russell and the way he's been talking and everything, and calling out people. I respect his heart. That's never a question. You got to have heart in the sport of boxing. You got to call people out, and you're going to offend some people. But what ultimately needs to happen with these guys is they need to make sure the fight happens now. If he went in there and said, tell Hearns to send the contract for the 1.5, then what's next? That's all we want to know. Because right now, the only champion that's being left out from a solid fight right now in the lightweight division that we know that have caused individuals to become duck masters is Devin Haney. So we can get him a good fight. Even with Gary Russell Jr., people come out and see it. People will come out and see that fight. Stylistically, it's what we wish for in the sweet science. We wish for a fight like this. This is what we wish for, man. It's boxing. It's not rock'em sock'em robots. This is boxing in sweet science. When you get two fighters stylistically that knows how to box and move, when you have a young line going against an old line, that's what we look for. Seriously, that's what we want. The 105 WBC champion is the longest reigning champ. He has Gary by 4 months. He's a 54-0. Yeah, I know that guy. And from my understanding, I think he's from Thailand, to be honest. But from my understanding, he was 54-0. And in that perspective, and he got out because that was, something that they was trying to say superseded Floyd Mayweather's record, which really in itself is not legit because he faced Conor McGregor, who had an 0-0 record. That's like, the third time Muhammad Ali won the heavyweight championship. When Leon Spinks beat him, he was only 7-0. Muhammad Ali gifted him, a title with the agreement that he was going to pick it back up so he can be three-time heavyweight champion. I'm definitely not going to freaking debate about 105 WBC champion. Deacon 305 say salute Lawrence Williams. Bud versus Khan was at the MSG. Okay, at the MSG then. Regardless, my guy, I seen Amir Khan quit And you know what? You're right. That was at the MGM because the MSG, because I remember talking to Crawford outside. That's right. Look, when you go over there to the MSG Barclays, man, them arenas, that shit is so fast paced in NYC, man. That shit is just crazy. But appreciate the I stand corrected. But either way, where I know for a fact he quit. He freaking quit. The 105 fighter, yeah, I think he retired because he was basically trying to just, supersede Floyd Mayweather and retire just so he can have the title. But guess what? Don't nobody know him. It's bad to say, but really, this 49-0, 50-0, and all this, it really doesn't make any sense about anything because no one's really gonna. It's been other fighters out there that I think their record supersedes that. Just because they didn't retire, it shouldn't be up on the it shouldn't be omitted from the boxing annals as being a accomplishment that we need to look into. You know what I'm saying? When it comes down to it. But let's make sure that whoever's in the media, now we get some consignment from Gary Russell, to tell Eddie Hearns to send. Let's see if the fire keeps burning. Let's see if Eddie Hearns is able to meet the requirement and make this fight happen. Both sides, actually. You know what I'm saying? Both sides. Let's see, can we get a damn good lightweight fight by the end of 2020? I know we got Teofimo Lopez for Vasily Lomachenko lined up. And also I'm talking about, this fight with Russell and Haney. That would be a damn good fight in my opinion. No one's talking about really Crawford and Brook, man. Unfortunately, it's just not something we want to see. He doesn't even fight in the welterweight division. To be honest, he would have to lose weight. He had to come back down to 47. There's no need for Bud Crawford to fight at a catch weight unless he was planning on moving up to 54 to face a champion up there. I always say he should go over there and try to fight Teixeira. You know what I'm saying? Jason Rosario got Charlo, issues coming up. So the only fight that I'll say, the only purpose for him to move up and fight at the catch weight with Brook, as if he was planning to move up. You know what I'm saying? But we all know that's not the case. Because people still believe that Errol Spence and Bud Crawford is going to happen. No. I don't think so. I don't think so, and I'm not going to talk about it. They could say Ali rematched him and won the fight. Yeah, Ali rematched him, but I spoke to some OGs about that particular night. That was actually the people that was actually there, and Ali didn't even train for that fight, and it was a gift to Leon Spinks to get that title, 7-0. Leon Spinks was 7-0, y'all. And then, it's not like Muhammad Ali, his freaking, how you put it, his health and, everything about his skill set improved drastically to come back and win that rematch. No, it was something like a planned rematch for him to pick up his title. And then if you look at his record, we saw what happened after that. Once he got his belt back, what happened after that? So that's just the intricate details behind the scenes of the backstory of boxing when you run into the people who truly know what happened. You know what I'm saying? That's from looking at people's records and trying to see what happened. Just like if you look at Sugar Ray Robinson and Jake LaMotta, right? Sugar Ray Robinson, when he initially fought Jake LaMotta, Jake was like, 16 pounds heavier than Sugar Ray Robinson. I think in both of the first two fights, I think they fought 6 times. You know what I'm saying? I mean, why was these fights back then? We know the case to that. Like, why would somebody be that much overweight and still Sugar Ray had to go in here and fight this dude? You know what I'm saying? That's boxing shit though, man. That's boxing shit, though, for real. But good point there, Deacon. But you know, we will see what happened with this situation, man. I want to read you off something with the top rank card right quick that I have in the description. Jamel Herring is fighting on the main event versus Jonathan Oquendo. That's going to be the main. Steve Nelson, who is also in the camp of Terrence Bud Crawford, he's the co-main event. He's fighting DeAndre Ware. That's Champ Maker's fighter. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, going against Brian Bomack. We have Jess Rodriguez, light flyweight, y'all, facing Janiel Rivera. And then we have the highly touted upcoming heavyweight Jared Anderson fighting Rodney Hernandez, which is somewhat of a step up for Jared Anderson. You know, Rodney Anderson has a pretty decent experience. You know what I'm saying? So this is definitely going to look nice on Jared Anderson's record. With the amount of fights he's been able to occur so far. And then you have DeAndre Smith, welterweight, going in against Benjamin Whitaker. And that's why I'm gonna leave off. You can check out the other fights or whatever after that. You know, it's in the details on my YouTube stream. And then UFC Fight Night, I'm just gonna give you the main event and the co-main. Alistair Overeem, who has over 50 MMA fights. He's going in there against Augusto Sakaya. And then co-main event, Oven St. Preux, OSP, is going in against Alonzo Minifield. That's going to be a good fight. But the rest of the card, you have to tune in and really, you know, follow the sport, you know, because those are names who are up and coming and rising, but they're not as popular. You know what I'm saying? This is not a heavy mixed martial arts card. But if you want to look at it just to get, you know, your education, cool. And then I provided you Alistair Overeem's most recent results comparable to Sakaya's most recent in the last 5 performances. You know, Overeem is 3-2, 3 wins, 2 losses. And those losses came via brutal knockout. And then for Sakaya, his last 5 fights, of course, has been wins. All right. Deacon said, I remember seeing an interview with Bud Crawford stepping to Kell Brook, looked like in some type of lobby, and asked Brook to face, you're going to lose that weight so we can fight. Yeah, man, there's so many people that step to Kell Brook. I'm telling you, Deacon, man, it's so many people that step to Kell Brook, man. He's like the freaking, he's like the stepchild in this mother, man. Like, it took him a while to recover. I mean, it's not like he's a terrible fighter, dog. Like, it's so many people done pulled up on Kell Brook, man. And they've been trying to tell him shit. You know, even Errol Spence and Kell Brook had a situation, you know, just like him and Bud Crawford had. And he was like, you know, get a title and I'll come over there and step on you again. You know what I'm saying? That's what Errol Spence's words was. And then, you know, with Bud Crawford, all these meetings and shit, man, it's good for TV, but nothing else came about it, y'all. Nothing else happened. You know, just dial it back a little bit when we seen Errol Spence and Bud Crawford meet with Bob Arum right in the proximity, y'all. Nothing happened after that. Nothing happened. That's just like Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather meeting at basketball games. Nothing happened. But this Gary Russell and this Devin Haney, it's been heating up real nice. It's been heating up real nice. And a lot more people going to tune into it because logically, they don't, they see this match is matching up more effectively than if he would have moved up for the division and faced Terrence Crawford. And I'm gonna tell you, that fight would have did numbers too. That fight would have did some numbers. The animus that they have between each other, oh my God, the venom, that shit is toxic. That's real life. That's real life beef right there. These guys ain't playing. That's real life. Going back to the amateurs, you know, where Russell swung on him or whatever the case may be, and everything behind it, hey man, that would have did great numbers. But also this Haney fight, if it happens with Russell, it's going to do solid numbers, man, and people are going to tune in because it's going to be Russell's first time moving up out of the featherweight division to the lightweight. And right now, the lightweight division is one of the hottest divisions. I would have to say it's the hottest division in boxing right now. The lightweight division. It's the hottest division right now. It's the hottest division. It has a unification match coming up where certain individuals are going to say it's for undisputed, which it ain't. But let's say for paper, you know what I'm saying, for chapter, you know, what you want to print, they're going to say it's for undisputed. So you got the much anticipated Teofimo Lopez facing Vasily Lomachenko, of course. And then I'm good the energy is switched over to that because what we witnessed with Rolly in a robbery. Rolly in a robbery. I don't care how many people get upset with that Rolly. I'm glad the energy is changed and that's phased out because Rolly needs to freaking re-sign the face Jackson Marinez because he lost. Period. And those of you they dropped those emails to me, y'all need to stop being so sensitive because Rolly was in a robbery. Period. And it's not a good look for the lightweight division, a division that has Gervonta fighting Leo Santa Cruz, but really we want to see Gervonta fight somebody in his own freaking weight class. And if Ryan Garcia is going to be the next one, so be it. Let's see Ryan Garcia, Gervonta Davis. Let's see it. Let's see it. No more talking. Fight somebody of a top name that's in the lightweight division. Because Gervonta Davis is an exciting fighter. So yeah, we have a lot of potential names in the lightweight division that we want to see fight. Let's get it. What's going on? Easy Work Boxing. Salute to you. Appreciate you stopping through, man. The UFC was destroyed once. They took away the gi. That Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was too much for those white boys, so they took away the gi and changed the game and messed it up. Well, I think to be honest with you, Deacon, the gi was only designated and approved by the Gracies, who basically set up the first UFC. And they used the gi because they was the only team. Look, they're the only fighter that was there knew how to properly exercise the use of submissions via a gi was the Gracies, dog. You know what I'm saying? It was the Gracies. They was able to come in there and prove that you can fight somebody that has a significant weight differential and be able to sub them out with the proper technique via grappling and submission. They proved that. And though he took some punishment, you know, Horace Gracie went in there and did what he was able to do, man. You know, you had Ken Shamrock over there. I mean, it was a pretty nice fight card with a catch weight. A lot of them dudes, you know, outweighed Horace Gracie by 80 to 100 pounds easily. But he was able to go in there and close distance effectively, get into the clinch. You know, start with the thigh kick and then close distance, change levels and take him down. And once he was on the ground, they was out of water. They was out of water, man. He drowned them. He drowned them with the gi. So I think it was good for them to take away the gi because then it would turn into a combat where you have to always adjust the gi all the time. You know, referee have to stop the fight for them to basically, you know, adjust the gi. And then, you know, it just would have been back and forth, man. It would have took away from the fast pace of the sport. Now it's just having, you know, trunks on, 4-ounce gloves for the men. And, you know, of course, the top and trunks for the women. 5-minute rounds across the board. championships, and sometimes co-main events, 5 rounds apiece. I love it, man. I love the evolving of the UFC, them being sanctioned in UFC 12. You know what I'm saying? I like how they evolved. You know what I'm saying? Jiu-jitsu world champions have to come in there and work on their stand-up game. It's just not about jiu-jitsu no more. It's all about all-around skill set. But good point. Good point there, Deacon. Good point. Appreciate that. I don't know why that was out, but that's a good point right there, man. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's come down to. The involvement of mixed martial arts, you know, from the striking, whether it be with your fists, your elbows, your knees, legs. I mean, you have all the components for which to disrupt your opponent's rhythm and to degrade their health in the process to win a fight. And we all know the system for what it takes to get your opponent to the ground. And then it involves a whole nother level of fighting. You know, back in the day when you get somebody to the ground, the first thing they try to do is get on top of you. Now, when you take somebody down, most of the time, if you're in there with elite fighters, it's a system on the person who's attempting to take down to avoid the legs, and the person is actually about to be on the bottom position, attempt to get the best position possible once the fight does go to the ground and they're on bottom position, putting you in a closed guard, open guard, or basically trying to scramble back and get an underhook and scramble and frame up and get back to their feet. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just not like falling on your back and somebody's on top of you raining down punches. The game has changed. You know what I'm saying? Hip rotation, shrimping, whatever you want to call it. I mean, the game has just changed so much now, man. And I would recommend people, if you have kids and you're in an area where they have jiu-jitsu, you don't need a gym waiver and all that to lift weights. Put them in jiu-jitsu or put them in wrestling. That's all I got to say. Put your kid in jiu-jitsu or put them in wrestling. And they will build confidence like no other, because ultimately every fight goes to the ground one way or the other. But the submission can happen while on your feet, on your back. It doesn't matter. It allows individuals to be able to work themselves in transitions out of positions that used to just be all bad. You know what I'm saying? Now, if someone put their hand around your kid's neck and try to choke them, they know what to do. Tuck the chin, 2-on-1 hand control, whatever the case may do, man, work for the position. I wasn't trying to get into mixed martial arts, but you know, it's a beautiful nightmare. You know, the muddy flats is a beautiful nightmare, man. Fighting in general has changed. It has changed tremendously. But hopefully, those of you that's tuned in, you know, y'all catch some of my segments when it comes to mixed martial arts. I know it's easy for people to enjoy boxing all the time, but for me, I study boxing and mixed martial arts equally. So when I'm doing my research, I'm looking and educate myself on both facets. And not only that, you know, when it comes to grappling, you have to understand what you're looking at. So when I have these lives and they have a UFC fight card going on or something like that, I'm educating myself as much as I'm trying to educate those of you that's listening in. So I appreciate you. If you can, subscribe to the channel, you know, share the content, man. I don't really ask for, look, if someone's going to donate, they're going to donate. You know what I'm saying? They're going to show you love and donate. You know what I'm saying? They're going to subscribe. I just don't feel that, you know, if I have to tell somebody 100 times during my live to subscribe, they truly don't want to subscribe to me. You know what I'm saying? Either way, I appreciate the ones who stopping through right now, man. You know, in this live stream, because I had to, you know, holler at Deontay Wilder, man, and let him know we still support him. We look forward to him coming back to the ring. It's still support from World Combat Sports. I know he can go in there and get that title back, man. Real talk. Don't ride the king off yet. Don't do it. You know, all this Tyson Fury making agreements with Anthony Joshua. That's gallimacious, man. It's no need for them to be talking like that. Because for one, Anthony Joshua, let me back up a little bit to Mauricio Suleiman, right? Did y'all hear Mauricio Suleiman come out talking about since Dillian White was knocked out by Alexander Povetkin, Tyson Fury has a clear path to Anthony Joshua? I said, yeah. That's what he wants. He want to make it as perfect as possible. So now Dillian White was KO'd by Povetkin in 5. He say Tyson Fury has a clear path. But yeah, Anthony Joshua still has Kubrat Pulev. You know what I'm saying? And also, he has Alexander Usyk. So Usyk and Pulev, one of them are going to drop off. Deontay Wilder gets his belt back. I'm pretty sure Usyk is going to have to wait if they're able to make Deontay Wilder Anthony Joshua. If Anthony Joshua doesn't flee and absquatulate to a foreign country, unknown, to an island, and go into seclusion. You know, we seen him with a leg cast on, you know, when he was out here calling himself protesting and stuff. So when Deontay Wilder get his title back, we'll probably see him in a neck brace, a full body cast, a wheelchair, you know, all that shit. Talking about, you know, my career is just about done. I don't know what happened, but you know, I was in the gym. I hit the heavy bag, and then I went to sparring, and somebody cracked me, and all the confetti, you know, I already had a fragmented chin, so all the confetti came out. I just didn't know what to do with myself. I lost it. There's no way I can repair this chin. That's all I want to do. Before I step in there with Deontay Wilder, I need to see if there's a way that I can put a titanium plate on both sides, left and right jawline, so I can repair this chin if I'm going to face Deontay Wilder. That's all I want to know. Until then, I'm out of boxing. I vacate my titles. I apologize to the people, but you know damn well in my heart of hearts, I never wanted to step in there and face Deontay Wilder. He hits too goddamn hard. And I just want to be able to talk to my kids in retirement. You know what I'm saying? I just want to be able to have a conversation. But if he hits me on my chin one time, I mean, I'm just about done. And that's boxing. If I had a kid, you're exactly right. Yeah, you know, put them in jiu-jitsu or wrestling. Believe me, they will feel their confidence will go sky high. They will feel good knowing that they may not have the best of hands, but if you can close down on somebody and you know how to clinch up, inside, outside, leg trip, or whatever the case may be, or if your opponent is bigger, jiu-jitsu allows a person to work from the bottom position. And believe me, you will be amazed. Believe me in what you can do from the bottom position. And gaining the dominant position from the bottom position with somebody that's bigger than you. Submissions are no joke, man. You're absolutely right. That is why Shamrock had to get on steroids and everything. You can find. Okay, you extracted that message. Coco the Don in the building. What's good, man? Salute to you, bro. Forgive the typo. I have to get me some glasses. Hey, man, it's all good, man. This ain't college, man. This is the strip. You press, and it is what it is. It's up to me to interpret what you're talking about, man. You know what I'm saying? We good. But you talking about Ken Shamrock. Ken Shamrock had his run. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to go in there and perform as well as I thought he would against Gracie. Seriously, I mean, I knew he had some wrestling, but I did not think that Gracie would be able to lock him in the way he did and Shamrock would tap. I just seen Shamrock once again. I seen Shamrock as the better specimen, better athlete at that time. I thought I just thought he had what it take when he took Gracie down to basically inflict some damage from the top position. But once again, the Gracies came in there with the mentality that, of course, horse is going to get placed on his back. And what are you going to do once you're on your back? They're going to work from the gi. They're going to get you in close, and they're going to work their magic, their submission style grappling, and put you in a situation where you have to tap that you can't get out of. That gi was a motherfucker. That gi, I'm serious. There's how you put it. There are sections to that gi that are meant strictly for submission. Grip strength, y'all. Grip strength is more important than you think. It's boring in how you develop grip strength, but when you have it, I'm telling you, it works. Salute Coco Adan. Wilder is going to knock the out of Fury. I agree with the Coco. I had Shamrock. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, I had Shamrock in that particular equation. I was disappointed when it didn't go down like that, unfortunately. But, Horace Gracie, his family being in charge of creating that first fight card, that's amazing that they was able to come in there the way they did. But yet, in the process of them having the advantage with the gi, you have to give them credit for going in there against guys who was much heavier than them and executing the system. This system that wasn't new, really. It was new to the US, but it wasn't new to Japan and Brazil and all those areas. You know what I'm saying? It was new to us over here because they haven't quite orientated over here yet. So the Gracies lay claim to bringing BJJ over here. Look, that's a whole nother story I can get into. I can tell you about the entire situation of the top professors that was over there in Japan who freaking migrated the whole, coming from the Valley Tudo, all that shit, man. All the way from Carlos Gracie all the way to Helio, and how he was able to fight these particular fights with the top professors in judo. Man, it's very interesting, dog. It's very interesting. The Gracies, they was basically able to bring and develop the BJJ, but they were taught by a Japanese professor. They took what they learned and then developed it into their own system. They didn't create jiu-jitsu. Let's get that understood. They did not create jiu-jitsu. And not only that, some of the big names, in their family, actually, early on, they lost using that system against some of the top dogs in that Valley Tudo freaking art. It's wild. I didn't know anything about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu before the Gracies. Yeah, man, it goes a lot deeper than that. I guess that's another lie because I ain't trying to sit up here and have people run for the hills trying to explain that shit. But it's amazing the process that the Gracies went through. Having all those boys in their family, and the one that actually started the series of promoting and going out there having grappling, competitions and stuff like that. It was down to Helio. They pronounced his name different or what have you. It was, when he got around to actually competing with the top dogs and trying to establish that the Gracie system was one of the best that's out there, even though he was defeated. How the Gracies was able to come to the mainstream is what? Media. The one that started, Carlos, was a astute businessman. He was friends with the media, the press. So he was able to build a brand of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu through the media, and the rest is history. You know, they open up schools. You know, even the think about it, some of the brothers even split up and open up their own school in different parts of Brazil. They open up schools in different parts of Brazil. So, you know, there was some conflict there on who was teaching what. And, you know, what you see today is all due to, you know, Carlos being friends with the press and able to raise the brand up of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and, you know, start these competitions, start these schools, teaching and everything else. And the rest is history, man. They came over here and competed in UFC 1, man, and introduced people to freaking. I know when people saw that gi, they said, "Oh, he's a karate guy." I remember people saying that, "Oh, he's a karate guy." No, the Gracies came down there with a plan, and the rest is done for life. They was able to be the front runners to BJJ over here, man. Unbelievable story, y'all. I'm still keeping the light on that because it's just too much technicality without showing some videos in there and everything else. I think the world was introduced to jiu-jitsu. The Gracies was not just it, but they are the creators of jiu-jitsu, so they owned it. They're creators of BJJ. They didn't create jiu-jitsu. They didn't create submission fighting. Judo was around before jiu-jitsu. Judo have forms of grappling associated with their art. It's just been a great show and a great chat as well with the brothers in the chat. Salute to you. Yeah, for sure, man. Appreciate y'all stopping through. I just had to get on here because, you know, I did see the video with Russell, you know, and that was good shit. I'm glad, you know, he's selling outside of the extra 5K he asked for. I'm glad. So let's hope it worked. And, you know, unfortunately, the Wilder and Fury 3, we're not sure if it's going to happen in 2020, but it's scheduled to be this year. You know what I'm saying? It's scheduled to be this year. But we don't know if it's going to happen or not. In the meanwhile, you know, Tyson Fury can get on ESPN all he wants and talk about this, that, and the third. And when it comes down to it, he has a tough task in front of him. There's no way that I would sit up here and bamboozle my supporters and say, you know what, Tyson Fury is going to have an easier go the third time around, because when you step in there in the trilogy, that's what happened. No, that's not true. Deontay Wilder comes in there healthy, you know, or whatever he has going on with his training camp, changing out certain areas to his team, certain positions rather, hiring new faces. It's going to be good. I think it's going to equate to what we know can happen. You know what I'm saying? He can go in here and get his title back, period. It doesn't make any sense for those of you that's in the live chat that was repeating what's on record already. We already know he was defeated. We already know Deontay lost his title. We all know that. We understand he lost his title and he took punishment. Now we're looking forward to the trilogy. And the reason why it's a trilogy, because Deontay's been fighting the best opposition. He's been fighting the best. So you have to respect that he's going into a trilogy with Tyson Fury. If he was any type of duck master, after that punishment and him bleeding out the ear, having a swollen lip, guess what? He wouldn't have enacted his rematch. I'm talking about for the trilogy, y'all. He would just say, you know what? I'm just going to sit back and relax, and I'm going to talk to my team, and I'm going to wait till they fight for the unified titles, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, and then I'm probably, you know, come back around and try to make a title run then. If he really wasn't about to smoke, you know, he would be like, hey, I'm just going to chill. I did all I need to do. He would have gave you that. I did all I need to do. I don't have nothing to prove. You know what I'm saying? Like some people want to say that they don't have nothing to prove. But yeah, you do. Because we know you can go back there and get your title. We know Tyson Fury's never been a knockout artist. And he had his night. And it's time to shut everybody down that basically did not have genuine support from the champ when he was reigning for over 5 years. Now it's time to shut him down. All I'm saying is make sure you show up over here, man. Win or lose. I'm talking about the ones who were, were supporting the champ. Show back up, man. Let's talk about it. And the ones that were supporting Tyson Fury once again, the X, when he loses his WBC title, come back, man. It'll be respectful. It'll be respectful, no doubt. The energy will be different initially, but it'll die down. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it all. But that's what you're looking at. He hasn't done of the. Now you're talking about the guys that won ranked. I know. I told Deacon that I can interpret. But when you speak in a cacology like that, I don't understand what you're saying. It's almost like you're purposely putting something up here that doesn't make sense for me to try to make a big deal out of it. I'm going to assume that you're better than that. I can't understand what you're talking about. You have to reword that, man, and press enter again. I don't know what you're saying. In order for me to respond, just do me a favor and type it better. Something. It's probably pretty much, look, when y'all want to take a look at who has the better resume and all this other stuff, it's a heavyweight division. People, you need to understand in boxing, if it was full of killers from 1 through 15, a lot of people will have losses. From the time that you picked up your professional license and you had to deal with killers, it will be people with 2-2 records, 2-8. It will be people, fighters with non-winning records because it's none but killers. If they had PEDs legalized in the sport of boxing, you would have a lot of other fighters that's killers because they're able to get enhancement. They're able to get performance enhancements to perform. You know what I'm saying? To be where they need to be. So being that that's not the case and they're banned and illegal, guess what? None of these fighters in the heavyweight division have super records with killers. I can absolutely tell you, if you want to talk about Tyson Fury's last 4 opponents outside of Deontay Wilder's first bout and the rematch, come on, man. Cervera? Seriously, Cervera now? Francisco Pianetta? Tom Schwartz, man. Did you see the highlight when Tom Schwartz was swinging and Tyson Fury was just freaking, slipping all his punches? It was easy work. It wasn't even difficult for him. That's all I'm saying. Like, it was easy work. So you really can't get on here and talk about records when it comes even to Anthony Joshua. What, we're going to use the same Klitschko brother for Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury? We're going to use the same Klitschko brother. The only good thing that edges Tyson Fury out is that Klitschko was actually still competing. But then when you look at freaking Anthony Joshua, he had to pick the easiest route. Just like they was able to get Charles Martin to take a dive in 2 rounds. They went up here and say, who can be the easiest one? Let's call Klitschko. His name, he's a future Hall of Famer. And let's call him out of retirement, man. And let's try to make this fight at Wembley, to sell out Wembley. Man, come on, man. Y'all gonna give Anthony Joshua credit for struggling with the retired fighter? You're gonna give Tyson Fury credit off his last fight? out the sport and then returning with 4 cans, bubble gum, soft touches. LA, that's embryonic. That statement you made is very embryonic when it comes to the knowledge that you should possess just with the basic understanding of the heavyweight division. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, you should be lucky I'm even acknowledging your comment right now, because it's a bit adolescent when it comes to people who's been around boxing for quite some time. You know what I'm saying? I'm just basically putting it out there that when you put Wilder hasn't faced the best, well, he has absolutely faced the best. Bermane Stiverne was a title holder. He had the most coveted title out there, the WBC title, prior to losing it to Tyson Fury February 22nd. Luis Ortiz was undefeated. No one wanted to fight Luis. They wanted to make all these excuses, but Deontay fought him twice. They fought him twice. Who knew? You're talking about a former unified champion, right? Why would he come back to the sport and fight 2 soft touches? I mean, 4 soft touches like he did. No one knew them to this day. To this day, no one knew them. But Deontay Wilder was having quick turnarounds in fight camp to fight the best in the heavyweight division. He can't force fighters to fight him. He can't force them. He can't force Anthony Joshua Hand to fight him. He tried to negotiate with Anthony Joshua in 2018, but they wanted to send the man in here with a $12 million flat fee. Shout out to Simon Satterfield. Salute to you, man. He didn't duck Klitschko. You need to stop listening to one-sided narratives, man. Does AJ want to sell his titles to Tyson Fury? I'm not sure if the fight between Tyson Fury and AJ is not even official. It's just something that was out there saying it's been in conversation. But we all know, the ones who tune into boxing, they totally understand that fight is nowhere close to being official. You know what I'm saying? Especially when Tyson Fury has to face Deontay Wilder. So they can make an agreement all they want. They can dap each other up and set up a freaking meeting so somebody can take pictures. So, hey, look at Anthony Joshua sitting up here with a medium shirt on, and Tyson Fury just happened to drive up in his vehicle, and they had him. Man, come on, get out of here with that. To answer your question, I don't know what AJ wants to do, but I know when he was facing Charles Martin, even the commentators have made reference to Charles Martin taking a dive in that fight with Anthony Joshua, getting his biggest payday and taking a dive against Anthony Joshua. It's not just my sentiment. They have made the same accusation against Charles Martin. And then it's fact that Klitschko was retired. He was out of the sport for close to a year and a half, right? That's the only fighter you could have got and almost lost. You tell me, man. I'm going to let you go, LA, because you seem like you don't know how to freaking type correctly. And I'm not here to be a dragamon and interpret everything. I might as well be goddamn reading in Braille, goddammit. I might as well be reading in Braille. Ask my son. Son, give me a beer right quick, because that's the only way I'm going to basically understand what's being put on here by LA, man. Deacons, I could be wrong, but I remember in the early 90s watching UFC in the Gracies, and they showed his father was an older man, and he said it was passed down from generation. Helio was the one who competed back then when they were opening up schools. Helio was the one that was going around competing with the professors. They had judo professors. They had individuals who was considered the top dogs, and Helio was the one who was going around competing in them in Valley Tudo. Like he was the one that was going out there getting the name out of the Gracies, and representing their jujitsu skills. The one thing about the Gracies when it comes to Valley Tudo grappling and striking is that they wasn't well versed in striking, but they was willing to go in there versus individuals that could strike and had submission capabilities to prove that they system work, regardless of what you was able to do. They was trying to say, once we get a hold of you, regardless of how you want it, somehow in between there, we're going to be able to sub you out. We're going to be able to work into a position, a dominant position to sub you, whether it's from the ground or the top position. But Helio's last loss was against I want to say Maeda. I'm not sure. I'm not looking anything up right now but he was one of the top dogs. And from my understanding, Helio faced one of his students because he said, you got to face one of my students, for me to see if you legit. And he faced one of his students. And I think it came up back then. It was a draw if it wasn't no submissions or anything. And then he faced him and he lost. Legitimate. He lost. I forgot the whole story, but yeah, I'll definitely come on here and do another live on it sooner or later. But they did not create. They just opened up schools in Brazil. One brother opened up a jiu-jitsu school on the other side of Brazil, and then the main Gracies, the Helio, they opened up their school and started teaching, and they gained recognition, like I said, for their brand, the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, because Carlos Gracie, he was a part of the media for the newspaper, and he started basically putting the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu out in the press, and it started picking up steam, and people start, getting width of it. Okay. And then the schools start growing and growing and growing. Yeah. But yeah, his last fight, to prove that the system worked, the one that you saw walking down to the cage, the one that just passed, the one that got all the respect, that was the one I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the Gracie brothers right now. I'm talking about the older school, the brothers. The Gracie has a lot of sons, man. Look, the Gracies, they had a lot of men in their family, dog. Not all of them was. I'm talking about these hardcore warriors that you see with Horace and Crone and it's just so many Gracies out there. But the one that passed not too long ago, that was the one who basically stepped in there with the top dogs in judo that had migrated from Japan, and they competed. And though he lost, they still built their school up, because they had press. Yeah, man, when it comes to them bringing it over here and competing, we're talking about organization that wasn't even sanctioned. The UFC wasn't even sanctioned yet, man. That didn't even have. They brought any type of freaking art that you can make, any form. That's my fault, people. Whatever is going on. But I'll definitely drop back on here, Deacon, later on. I'm not later on, but whenever that time comes, and kind of give a different breakdown of that, particular story behind the Gracies in jiu-jitsu. They did not create BJJ. You know what I'm saying? It was one of those deals where they was taught. They was absolutely taught. You know what I'm saying? So their name, their family name was brought into the equation because of who they were and them wanting to open up schools for submission grappling. And the shit blossomed from there. But it was an amazing story behind that. The way Japan was in poverty and a lot of the Japanese professors was migrating over to Brazil, and man, they was opening up schools and teaching and all this. And then, finally the Gracie was trying to prove that they had a dominant system of grappling and submissions. So they had to face the top tier names, even though it wasn't top tier names in straight basic jiu-jitsu, but judo had submission skills attached to their skill and art. So they had to go out there and prove that their system was the most superior, and that required one of the primary Helio to go out there and compete. And the rest is history, man. But good point, dog. Appreciate you even entertaining a jiu-jitsu question. You know what I'm saying? Eddie Hearn ducked Wilder for his boy. I'm not sure what that means. Eddie Hearn ducked Wilder for his boy. Well, if you're talking about protecting Joshua, absolutely. I mean, because at the end of the day, this is the 3-step process as to why Joshua made a fool of himself, and people just don't want to acknowledge it. The fact was that when you come and present a 12 million flat and then a 15 million flat, when you know the percentage is going to basically gain more revenue on the back end, right? You basically what you're saying to the person who you are placing this restriction on, which is Deontay Wilder, is that you want to place unnecessary stress on him, that he's going into one of the biggest fights in boxing. The biggest fight. If Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua would have squared up, you're going into one of the biggest fights in boxing history. And you don't want him to be able to eat. You don't want Deontay Wilder to be able to eat. So you present him with a $12 million flat fee. So therefore, moving on past that to the $50 million, which Anthony Joshua didn't want. Look, all Deontay Wilder wanted was in 2018. We'll get you the 50 mil. You fight over here in the United States, and there's no rematch clause. That's a lot for somebody like Joshua, who, in my opinion, that didn't win the gold medal round, who's been freaking handed a nice pathway to his success so far. That was a lot for him to undertake right there. He was like, shit, no rematch. Going to the States. Oh, no, I'm not trying to go across the pond. Eddie, do you think we can pull it off, Eddie? He wasn't trying to come over here. This is the boxing stronghold over here. We saw what happened to him when he came over here. After being punked out by Jarrell Miller, and they came over here faking the funk, y'all. I ain't trying to get started, but since they want to hear it, they came over here faking the funk, trying to act like they were going to sign a contract for Wilder when Eddie Hearn's name was attached to the contract. So that lets me know Joshua was all about the buffoonery. Then Jarrell popped positive, and they come up here and pick Andy Ruiz because he looked like a soft touch. He looked soft around the edges and in the midsection. So they said, okay, cool, we'll be able to work our way around him. I'm a better boxer. And they went in there and was defeated. But let me back up to the 50 million though. All of a sudden, the WBA come out of the blue and say, you know what? Anthony Joshua has a WBA mandatory. If he don't face his WBA mandatory, then we're going to strip him of the title. That came out of nowhere, y'all. And then also during these negotiations, they said Wembley wasn't available. Because, of course, Deontay Wilder would have went over there and fought Anthony Joshua in the UK. But he's not going to give you 50 million and go to the UK to give away some money and have you, put a referee in there and corrupt the fight. So therefore, the WBA came out with this mandatory shit. Then Eddie Hearns and then was lying, talking about the fight date September, in September wasn't available. So when negotiations was severed, all of a sudden, all this shit came out. Go back and do your research. They signed Anthony Joshua to a 2-fight Wembley deal, September 22nd and April 13th, I believe. And then it comes out that the Zone come out with a $1 billion contingency deal, which everybody thought it was $1 billion off the rip. And then, y'all, to top it off, with the Zone deal and Wembley not being open, all of a sudden, Wembley is open. They have a date, September 22nd. But when you was in negotiations with Wilder, the date didn't even present itself. Eddie Hearn basically said it wasn't available. But when negotiations were severed with Wilder due to stupidity, and Anthony Joshua and running them around the damn bushes, all this shit came out. $1 billion DAZN deal, 2-fight Wembley deal, all that bogus WBA mandatory shit. It was all bogus. It was all bogus, man. So, yeah, they was trying to protect Joshua because they knew damn well if Deontay Wilder was to fight Anthony Joshua in the UK or in the States, what would happen? Because at that point in time, Joshua, he knew he didn't want that work from Deontay. He knew that, y'all. I don't know why the Joshua fans don't want to accept the fact that this man got a soft chin. Styrofoam. Anthony Joshua's chin is suspect. How many times do he have to go be on the ground for you all to realize that? Klitschko let up off of him because he wasn't meant to be in that place to win. He wasn't trying to come back and be an active champion. How many fights have Klitschko had since that fight with Anthony Joshua? Come on, man. Don't let me try to break simple shit down to you. Did you see Gary Russell accept the $1.5 million from Devin Haney on social media? Yeah, I talked about that earlier. Absolutely, that's good shit, man. Him accepting it, it really does nothing for me right now because in this particular scenario, I would want to see more from both camps to make it official before I really start getting hyped about it. It's a good start. It's a good start. And you know who responsible for spinning the wheel is media. The new media is responsible for, making a whole lot of these turns, these twists and turns, man. Bill Haney getting on these media sites, talking, advocating, putting the word out there. You got to respect that, man. You got to respect, man, the new way, that some of these coaches and fathers are moving. They're basically communicating with media. They're not afraid. They out here speaking with us. They out here communicating and turning us on to certain areas that we may not be privy to. You know what I'm saying? You got to respect that shit. So hopefully now we're able to see the progression move forward and start getting them official dates so we can kind of get some, some clarity as to if the fight date is going to happen, when it's going to be, where they're going to fight at, all that, man. Yeah, absolutely. Good news. I don't know what you're talking about. At 33-0, what 33-0 has to do with anything? What does 33 has to do with anything? Wilder never ducked Klitschko, man. I mean, you can say what you want, but he never ducked Klitschko. Man, everybody in their team has people around them to basically mediate what fight they should and should not take. I'm not saying Wilder didn't take the fight in that, but some of you all are repeating the language that's out here saying, oh, so-and-so said he wasn't ready. I mean, 33-0, come on, man. 33-0. How many fights is that off? He's 42-1 right now. Come on, do the math. He had 10 title defenses. 10 title defenses. Do the math on that. Klitschko wasn't trying to fight Wilder when he stepped in there with freaking Joshua. You trying to act like Klitschko, him and his brother was these machines. We just didn't have enough freaking on the roster. We didn't have enough killers on the roster to slow down the Klitschko brothers during that time. We just didn't have enough killers. Coco says, shout out Asian Money, Mr. Zone, the best in the building. Asian Money, Mr. Zone, the first to push to 1.5. Yeah, man, you got to give it up to the media and also, Haney providing the platforms, such as H Money to basically put the situation out there in the most blunt fashion possible. You know what I'm saying? And if you think people don't listen to new media, they do. They do. They listen to new media. Y'all need to understand, it's more people listen to new media than you think. And if anybody tuned in to H Buddy shit, hey man, it wasn't no easy fairy tale soft type of touch. He was like, hey, I support Gary Russell. You know what I'm saying? I think he's a hell of a boxer. But anybody who tune into the battlefield, the media battlefield over there, you know what it is. He ain't hold no punches about that. So somehow in between, he had communication with Gary's brother, not me. So sometime in between, his last post and today or whatever, I don't know. But somehow, some way, the agreement to say, okay, take the 1.5 and try to make the fight. And then, the hearing 1.2 for Shakur Stevenson, that's a good one too. But I'm not sure what weight class he's talking about fighting Shakur Stevenson. Because right now, Shakur Stevenson in 130, junior light. So I don't know if he's going to talk about fighting him at 30 or 35. That'll be a good fight too. But the fight in this particular equation, of course, we want to see Gary Russell and Devin Haney, period. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, period. So now we have to wait on to see what Eddie Hearn is going to do. Both teams, Team Haney, Team Russell, what they get together to try to make this fight happen. That's what we want to. That's what we want to see. You know what I'm saying? That's what we want to see. And either way it goes, man, it's better than, Russell moving up to face Crawford at four weight classes higher and Crawford's not being able to make a fight anyway. Like, he's having a difficult time with just making fights in general. So I think this fight down in a lower weight class would be much more entertaining to the fight fans. It will be much more of a fight that will basically provoke their interest. You know what I'm saying? They'd be like, shit, okay, I want to watch this. You know, it's been a long time. Career-wise, Gary Russell making a move up. This would be big, real big. Serious talk, real big. So we'll see in the next week if anything happens. You know what I'm saying? Because with the Terrence Crawford situation, we didn't hear nothing back from him when Gary Russell mentioned it. At least Gary Russell's been hot on the mic. He's been making call outs. He hasn't been, reserved in any way, shape, or form about putting his voice out there. So now that he accepted the 1.5, which basically, his reasoning for saying he would take the 1.5 for Terrence Crawford was he was saying it was personal. He said he would have fought Terrence Crawford anywhere because he said he'll break his neck. But he was saying for Devin Haney, the $2 million was business. Well, when you put it in perspective, $5K in a way, it is a lot of money to the listener and to the fans, the boxing fans. But when you talk about business, it's a small increment. It's a small increment, but yet still holds enough weight to it for somebody to think twice. Like, why 2 million with me? You know what I'm saying? You accepted 1.5 from a 3-division champion who's a current champion in a higher division, but yet you're gonna increase the offer with me down here in the lighter division. So for him to say 1.5 now, it would still be his highest payday, which is great. Awesome. I like it, man. Grown man shit, Gary Russell. Grown man shit. Appreciate you. Now I definitely want to see if they're gonna make this fight happen. And like I said before, Devin Haney, man, his optics in boxing, minimal, maybe 5 divisions, minimal, 5 divisions, 5-division champion, minimal. That's crazy. Crazy. But we'll see what comes of it, man. Shit. Just like we want to see with this Deontay Wilder fight, man. Like in my closing words, Lance Pugmire, don't sit up here and talk about the champ is clinically depressed. Don't talk about that shit, man. Don't sit up here and place that stigma on a black fighter who already has enough to deal with, and basically his fans acknowledging him as a people's champ to begin with. Why? Because the man is kept a clean nose, as they said back in the day. Keep your nose clean. You know what I'm saying? He's did what he had to do. If the man was goddamn popped one freaking time for performance enhancing drugs, he would be in the category of all the ones I put up here before. And just in case y'all didn't see, don't worry about it. I'll pull it up for you. I'll pull it up for you because I just want y'all to see. I just want y'all to see the ones who have already been repeat offenders for performance enhancing drugs. Dillian White, Tyson Fury, Luis Ortiz, Alexander Povetkin, which Jarrell Miller should be at the top, first and foremost. Alexander Povetkin is a multi-time offender. Jarrell Miller, multi. Eric Molina, Bermain Stavern, and Lucas Brown. Is Deontay Wilder's name anywhere on that? No, it is not. So the hate is for what again? The hate is for what again? Why you hate the man? Because he speaks. He speaks to the people. Well, that's not enough to hate him though. Because Tyson Fury, he talk a lot of shit too, people. Come on, let's be better, man. Let's not allow this shit to happen again, because I'm telling you once again, outside of Deontay Wilder, who will be the next heavyweight superstar in the next 5 years? Who? Well, all these heavyweights is coming over there from the UK and everywhere else. Who's going to be the next United States heavyweight champion? You all are going to be salivating for a star once Deontay Wilder is out of the picture. You're going to be like, God damn. Hear me out, right? Y'all going to be like, God damn. Man, I remember when Deontay Wilder used to knock motherfuckers out, dog. Shit. I remember when he used to turn the corner coming out the tunnel, battle formation, heading to the ring. I knew. It's almost like motherfuckers were getting knocked out on his way to the ring. It's like carrying freaking ammunition with you. God bless you with a right hand. Not only a right hand, but he bless you with a right hand and an incredible reach to hold that stick of dynamite. You know what I'm saying? That's just incredible to me. That's incredible. You're going to be saying to yourself, who possesses that one punch knockout that can be a heavyweight superstar like Deontay Wilder once he's gone? You all are going to be missing this man when he's gone, because it's difficult to find an individual that has that star power, that freaking grenade on the end of his freaking right hand, or even power in both hands. To be honest, it's easy to come up and say, you know, well, we got a heavyweight that's on the come up. Okay. But does he give you that value that you're looking for, that you want to tune in and see him because he's knocking cats out? Because look, the boxing fans are very easy to become disinterested when it comes to the heavyweight division. If you can box, just say Muhammad Ali, you know, you got the boxers. People don't want to see that shit in the heavyweight division. They want to see motherfuckers getting slapped. When it comes to the US, they want to see people getting slapped. That's what Mike Tyson, why they treat him like a god when they see him. Look, Mike Tyson gets treated like a boxing god, man. Even for what he's done. Man been incarcerated for a rape charge. He's been a part of some very aggressive situations in life. I'm not judging the man, but I'm saying Deontay Wilder has never even ventured into that area. Who's next? Who's going to give you that knockout power? Who's going to give you that starlight? Who's going to give you that anticipation? Who's going to make you put your money on the line? I bet that motherfucker get knocked out in 4 rounds. I bet he don't make it to the final bell. Put some money on it. No, I'm not he don't make it outside 2. This motherfucker get hit. He don't make it outside 2. Who's next? That's all I want to know. Who is the next U.S. heavyweight that y'all going to be able to sink your teeth into, so to speak, and then lean in and support? Who is the next solid heavyweight on the docket for you to spend your money on? You need to ask yourself that. And if you can't answer it, people, you need to say, well, let me get on here and send Deontay Wilder an apology. For all you that was booing him in the Staples Center, all the people that was booing him at the MGM Grand when the man was at home. The man was at home, man. I know, you know, I'm just kind of repeating this shit, but come on. I know some of my, my brothers and sisters in arms, right? Back in the day when they came home from service, from serving their country, they were still treated as slaves. And they was treated real bad after they went in there and sacrificed and seeing some things that they weren't supposed to see. And they served their country only to come back and be treated like civility was still active and prevalent. You know what I'm saying? So I take it in a sense where you're doing something not just for Alabama, but you was basically, Deontay Wilder was doing something that resonated globally. He did something that resonated globally, y'all. People acknowledged him on a global level. But in his home footprint, in his own country, he was booed. Not because of something he did to the people. He didn't spit on nobody. He didn't flip people off. He wasn't doing Ricardo Mayorga. You know what I'm saying? Smoking a cigarette and blowing smoke in a fighter's face at the presser. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't swinging on people like Riddick Bowe did Larry Donald. Mike Tyson did Lennox Lewis. He wasn't jumping over cars like Larry Holmes when he was fighting. He wasn't fighting in the street like Mitch Green and Mike Tyson. He wasn't mob connected, throwing a fight. He hasn't been accused of betting on the fight like Panama Lewis. I'm just saying, like, when does it come to a point where people are sitting up here hating a man all because he don't fit the damn template of a boxer? Now you take that, right? And then you say to yourself, well, once you get a template fighter, a boxer, just say you get the boxer that reminds you of a Mike Tyson. What if he ain't knocking out his opponents? What stipulations are you going to place on this new upcoming lion that's in the shoot in the heavyweight division? Oh, man, he don't have no power. He in the heavyweight division, man. He go the distance all the time. He got some good boxing skills, but he don't have no fucking power, dog. What's going to happen? You going to wish to have 6'7" Deontay Wilder back on the scene with a right hand that can come out of nowhere and sleep motherfuckers into a comatose state, the land of Nod? Seriously, man. People are not going to appreciate Deontay Wilder till he's out the sport. And then we're going to go back to when the Klitschko brothers was ruling and we didn't have any heavy hitters in the shoot. And y'all going to be yearning for another heavyweight to come back on the scene that's as dominant as Deontay Wilder was when he was reigning. And this don't have shit to do with fanboy or nothing like that. This has something to do with actual truth to the game. Like, you barely get heavyweights that come around and perform the way we want them to perform. And that's knocking motherfuckers out when they have an opportunity. It would have been a wrap. It's a wrap, folks. That would have been. I'm looking at the real big baby, Jared Anderson. He's a switcher and he can punch. Great prospect. Hey, I agree with you, Coco. You know, I mentioned him, Jared Anderson. He's fighting tonight. I mentioned him. And he has a ways to go before he gets to that point. You know, I know he's been sparring over in the UK and all that. He has a ways to go before he become a fan favorite. Now, it's going to take more. Check this out, Coco. It's going to take more for him to say he's the real big baby, because if you're the real big baby, that one has basically let the fans down numerous of times, popping positive. So really, if you have basically taken over the name, then it's not much you have to do to achieve, because Jarrell Miller was never champion. He just had potential to be in the position to become champion. But each and every time he was in the slot, especially in NYC, he popped positive. He failed. He blew it. It imploded. So now Jared Anderson's up here saying he's a real big baby. What does he have to accomplish to prove to the fans that he is just that? Because the name that he has that's associated with Jarrell Miller, he didn't do too much in boxing. He didn't do too much in boxing, to be honest. I mean, we're talking about a man who fought over 300 pounds. And Jared Anderson, he's coming in his heaviest, I believe. He's coming in 247. You know, Anthony Joshua, I'm curious to see how he fights. Anthony Joshua, when he fought Carlos Takam, he was 245? After they agreed. No. I take that back. He wasn't 245. He was 250 plus after they agreed to 235 weight limit. Anthony Joshua came in like 254 and still hit Carlos Takam, who got up. As I was trying to tell people, y'all think Anthony Joshua had this crazy amount of power. He cracked Carlos Takam. And Carlos got up when the referee was trying to stop the fight prematurely right there. And Takam was like, I'm good. And I'm looking back, shaking my head like, yeah, they really trying to stop this fight early. They really don't want this fight to go past 10 because the future fight that's coming up is Anthony Joshua and Alexander Povetkin. So being that Povetkin didn't allow his fight with Carlos Takam to go past 10, they ain't going to let this fight with Joshua go past 10 because it'll look bad. Sure enough, stopped it in the 10. Bullshit. Stop prematurely, y'all. I look at shit like that. We'll see what Jared Anderson has, man. He's at 247 tonight. We'll see if he keeps on increasing his weight, man. You know, these heavyweights, they different. Some of them like to eat. I don't know, man. Like, you know, and I'm not saying that against Jared Anderson, but you know, because he's doing quick turnarounds. So this man has to, during this COVID-19, he's happened to maintain some type of discipline because he's having back-to-back fights coming up here, you know. Yeah. Paulie told us that what the hate was really about when he said black fighters are no longer on top. This is not the 80s and 90s. This European fighters are on top fighters, and that's just factually wrong. You know, whatever narrative Malignaggi was trying to push, being that he does have a mouthpiece, he does have a voice on his platform, and you know, he can cater to whoever he chooses to, but hey, you know how that is. He got shut down. He was shut down. You know, it was very controversial what he insinuated. Very controversial. But all of a sudden he comes out and talk about black fighters when, you know, he tried to say Deontay Wilder was attempting to try to get him fired from Showtime, you know, for his comments and all that other stuff. And now all of a sudden it just catches fire and he comes out and say what he said and they end up letting him go. But you can push the narrative all you want, you know, when it comes to Paulie about black fighters this, black fighters that. It's still a plethora of black fighters in the sport of boxing, just like it is Hispanic, Mexican fighters too. There's a plethora still competing in the sport. It's always going to be that way. But whenever you have a neighboring fighter that stands out, a lot of these US fans will gravitate to these neighboring fighters. And they're not even as good as what we have over here in the US. They just want to sit up here and say, oh man, so-and-so is good. You know, aka Tyson Fury, Vasily Lomachenko. And you try to explain to people like, dude, imagine if some of our US fighters would have stayed in the Olympics for 2 tours. I'm talking about males. Imagine if they would have came over here when Vasily Lomachenko did. It wouldn't have been no mistake in the second fight on where they would have won the championship. It would have been a wash. They put all those miles on Vasily Lomachenko, and still he comes over here and can't get it done after being promised a title shot even before he was a professional. Y'all have to understand something. You can't just keep mentioning Pedraza and Linares. You cannot just keep mentioning Walters, who hasn't fought since he fought Vasily Lomachenko. You can't mention Kroller, man. And I definitely don't like bringing up Rigondeaux that moved up 2 weight class, and y'all say, well, you know what? His Olympic pedigree, and he was undefeated. Sure enough. But stop acting like he was true for that weight class. Nope. I haven't. Absolutely not. I have not. But definitely you have to take that in consideration, man, with a lot of the US fighters US fans that gravitate to something new. They just want to see something new. I remember when Jim Lampley was hyping up Gennady Golovkin so much, everything he did, especially in that Daniel Jacobs fight, everything this man, if he even fainted and twitched his shoulders, Jim Lampley, oh my God, Gennady Golovkin twitched his shoulders left and right and did the shimmy, and Jacobs reacted, and he thought he was being hit with a 3-punch combination when in fact Gennady never even threw a punch. Oh, Gennady is just an amazing fighter. One of the best of our eras. And then Daniel Jacobs went the distance with him, and the candle started to freaking, trickle down. Like it started to go out. Like they was thinking Gennady Golovkin was going to turn into a motherfucking inferno. He was just going to blaze the competition. But they didn't want to identify the competition that he was facing, and then the competition that he was headed towards. They didn't want to face that. They just wanted to hype him up. And now his truth is coming out. It's coming out, y'all. It's coming out in him facing Canelo Alvarez. It's coming out the way he looked in there against Sergey Derevyanchenko. Boxing always going to be politics and business. You know what I'm saying? For them to basically do Sergey Derevyanchenko like that, who's been in line twice for the IBF title, and then he gets robbed the second go with Gennady Golovkin. Now he's about to they send him next door. That's why I tell people, don't really come to me with this ranking bullshit, because it makes no sense. Like the rankings are very sketchy. They moved Sergey Derevyanchenko next door to the WBC. Now he's facing Jamal Charlo. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just that quickly. That's how it works. But ultimately, boxing will always have that type of energy to it. Who you expect to be somewhere, just like, say, for instance, Sean Porter being the number one ranked fighter for the WBO. Sean Porter has moved up. Sean Porter was just ranked 9th in the IBF, and now he's up in the top 3, I think. And also they moved him, in front of Danny Garcia in the WBO rankings. I would have liked to seen what would happen if Deontay Wilder was the WBC champion, and then the IBF was in different hands, and the WBA was in different hands. You know what I'm saying? The titles that Joshua owned would be fragmented. You know what I'm saying? It would be curious to see how many other fighters would have stepped in there and fought Deontay Wilder outside of the belts being in the hands of one fighter. You know what I'm saying? It would have been interesting to see who would have stepped up to the plate to face Deontay Wilder. And no, we ain't talking about Charles Martin either. If he would have had the scrap, yeah, cool. We would have fought him. But I would have definitely liked to see at this juncture in the heavyweight division, if the belts was fragmented and they was collectively in other hands, whether it be UK, US, whatever, who would have stepped up and fought Deontay Wilder if he was still champion? That's what I'm curious about. That's exactly what I'm curious about. Let me see something right quick. But y'all do me a favor, though. If you hear the people, the ones that love being, bringing racing to the picture when it comes to, you know, what Deontay Wilder hasn't done or what he has done in the sport of boxing. You really need to hit them with the arrows of fact. You know what I'm saying? The arrows of fact that they're just individuals with malice intentions to not support the champ. That's all that is. You know what I'm saying? That's a dime a dozen when it comes down to it. That's a dime a dozen, y'all. And I'm going to end with this. Yordenis Ugas. I'm happy he's getting his title shot, okay? By default or whatever. He's fighting Abel Ramos, I believe. But Yordenis Ugas has been trying to put himself in a position to get a title shot and so forth. So now that Vesputin has been removed because he tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs, now Ugas is in a position to get this belt. And then he's looking forward to fight some bigger names as it go along. You know, if he goes in here and get this belt, he's looking for the fight bigger names. And he said he wouldn't mind fighting Sean Porter again, which a lot of people saying that he gave Sean Porter a pretty competitive go, and it would be good to see him. But also he mentions Terrence Crawford's name too. You know what I'm saying? So, shout out to Ugas, man. Yordenis Ugas. He's finally getting his freaking opportunity to step back in there, and we'll see how that all plays out. Real talk. But it is fight night. I'm gonna step out of here. It is fight night tonight. It's coming on. Salute to my brother-in-law, Jamel Herring, that's over there, and with Bomac, and he's going in here to defend his title, man. Junior lightweight. Salute to you going in there and getting that win and make it happen, man. And for all the other fighters that's stepping in there. It's also, mixed martial arts and boxing going on. So we'll see what's going on, which one I primarily is going to do a live stream on. I'm thinking it's primarily going to be about, the top rank card. And then periodically I'll dip into the mixed martial arts. Because the mixed martial arts, the UFC card, it has some names on there that a lot of people are not familiar with. Like I said before, the only big names, in my opinion, is the main and the co-main. You know what I'm saying? That's the biggest deal that's on the UFC fight night. But for me, the entire card is freaking important because it's all about education. You know what I'm saying, people? But man, it's been a pleasure, man. Y'all stopping through. Happy. What I'm talking about, happy. Enjoy your Labor Day, man. If you're drinking, it's too much that's out there right now. I don't know if people even having cookouts with this COVID-19, but enjoy yourself, man. I'll be back a little later. Appreciate everyone who stopped through World Combat Sports. If you subscribe, cool. If you didn't, it doesn't take much effort, man. You know what I'm saying? Do that. I appreciate the donation that stopped through. Real talk. And y'all be sure to tune back in, man, so we can get this round for round analysis. You know what I'm saying? In this combat sport game, this boxing and mixed martial arts. That's what it's all about. And Deacon, I definitely will get back on sometime in the following week and kind of get a breakdown of this BJJ and what jiu-jitsu, where it originated, and then how the Gracie family blossomed into the historic name that they are right now in combat sports. Huge, absolutely huge. But everybody's tuned in, man. Turn up and tune in. Salute from World Combat Sports. Appreciate you dropping through.